All right, I say hello and welcome to Stock Market Mutterings for October 9th. This is where on a day-by-day basis I will share with you my good trades, my bad trades, my fortunes, my failures, and everything in between in the attempts to help you become a much more successful stock market trader. As always, if you need help with your personal trading, visit thelincolnlist.com, click on the Trade Room tab, and you can start trading with us right away. So what is it that I want to teach you today? What is the lesson that was learned in today's market? Well, there's a couple of them, and I'm going to get into it. But let's start out with the first one, which is today was a green day, and that was good. As I always say, green is good. But I've been in this period over the last 3 or 4 days of trading where I've just been squeaking out mild profits, and I've had to put in a lot of work to get them. Now, one of the reasons I do these mutterings on a daily basis now is I want to share with you the honesty of what a professional trader's life is like. Not this bullshit that you're seeing on social media where these traders are leading you to believe that every single day of the week they make $1,000 before the market even opens or 20 seconds after it opens, and they spend the rest of the day, drinking milkshakes and driving around town in fancy sports cars. That just does not work over the long period of time. That's just not how you're going to, that just doesn't work. And I think you're smart enough to know that doesn't work. The point of this is what we go through emotionally and what we experience out of the market, such as peaks and valleys, hot streaks, cold streaks, good days, bad days, frustration, anger, happiness, sadness, euphoria, all that stuff. I'm a person too. I feel the same things as you do. But what I've learned from my amateur days to my professional days is that the difference is how do I handle those moments? And that's what's the difference, real big difference between a professional trader and an amateur. All that other stuff, line zone charts, stochastics and all this other crap is just crap in most cases. I mean, yes, it helps. I shouldn't say it's crap. That's probably being unfair because I use technical analysis. But most of it comes down to you, your emotional capabilities, and how you react to what's happening. Now, on that note, what I'm trying to say to you here is I've been in this spell for the last few days of where I've just been grinding out mild profits. Now, the beginning of the month started out really strong with some really big days. But since then, especially since this market started to correct, we've seen a lot of volatility, so it's been a little bit choppy, and therefore things have changed. My approach has changed. Now, the reason that is because I've been through this whole song and dance probably several thousands of times in the last 20 years I've been doing this. So I know what to expect. I know that I'm going to go through good times. I know I'm going to have some rough times here and there. It's just, again, I know how to react to it. So I've been kind of grinding it out, but it's been green, okay? And the thing I want to relate to you, the real lesson, is sometimes you're going to have to do it. You're going to have these days where everything works for you perfectly. Or these patches of months or, certain times when the market just works well with your strategy. And then there's going to be other times it's not quite like that. And again, this is something else you hear a lot about social media, especially people selling you stuff, says, my strategy works in every market. Well, that statement alone right there tells you that every single day, no matter what the market does, is always going to be a great day with this strategy. Now, that's kind of a misstatement because yes, your strategy can work in every market, but the way that it works is much different. I hope you kind of remember that it can work in every market, but the way it works in every market. So for example, if you're doing breakout buying and you're doing it something in earnings season and all these companies are blowing out earnings and the market's at all-time high and you're buying breakouts, you're going to see more success with that type of a trade. And you're going to see larger moves and it's going to be a higher win percent. When you get into a market like now where it's adjusting itself and it's selling off a little bit, that strategy may work, but it's not going to work as well. So I think you understand what I'm saying. I want to kind of translate that because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to speak, to spit the truth to the congregation. So let me tell you about what my day was. Let's go back, for those that follow every day, these market mutterings. I told you, gap up rips, I'm a short seller. Flush outs, I'm a buyer. I kind of left it with that. So today we start out with, we didn't flush. We kind of flushed a little overnight there, but the market gets bought back up a little bit. And you start out with some verts in the morning. Now, the last thing I want to do, and I'm not saying it won't work, but based on my strategy and the way I do things, right now in this market where so much stuff fades, I don't want to be the first one buying candle number 1 of the day on a breakout especially when some of the stuff like Netflix, Nvidia has been reversing $3 and $4. So I'm just not interested in that trade. Again, maybe 2 months ago, that was something I did all the time because the market was favorable to that thing. But now, a little bit different, being cautious. So I kind of told you about that. So the first trade was Facebook. Now Facebook goes vert up here, and I kind of missed the first entry. Look up here at the top. I was trying to get in at 161, and I didn't do it. I don't want to say that I missed it. I think I just kind of made an excuse in my own, like I wasn't really wanting to take this trade right now. I thought. And sometimes that happens. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm holier than thou, and every decision I've ever made has been perfect. You know, I make mistakes too. But it kind of started rolling over a little bit, and I saw everything else flush, and I saw things like Netflix pulling, Nvidia pulling, the market was pulling after the first, I think it was after the 10-minute candle. Let me kind of refresh myself here. Yeah, it was after the first 5-minute candle right here. If you look at the upper chart, I'm sorry if you can't see it, but I was thinking, the market's pulling. It's going to pull off of this fade, and I'm just looking for something that's still relatively green because a lot of this stuff had turned red. So I was like, Facebook, I'll try some. Well, it just kind of stalled there. I had a little tiny profit, but everything else was getting hit so hard at the time, I thought, well, I'm going to try to be a little bit more patient with it. Well, it kind of starts moving back up here and working its way back up to high. Now, normally, this is why I say your strategy stays the same, but sometimes the way you approach it, that's what changes. Normally, I would fight this out because I would have looked at Facebook up a couple of bucks and I would have said, you know, I can get this trade to work. I can continue to add to this short. I can fight this thing off. I can be more patient with it. However, because of the way the market has been, I can't discount in the back of my mind after a 4-day skid of this epic rally. Now, maybe this rally never comes, but this is something that we've seen in a routine fashion over the last couple of years, that just when you're ready to write the market off, there it goes, right? So I can't just sit here and just say, hey, look, you know, I want to fight with this because, I mean, maybe it's up a lot, but I'm like, hell, this rally could take hold. The market could go up 400 or 500 points, and I'm just going to get slammed. So I erred on the side of caution. I took a small loss. Now, at that same time, I started to see this whole perk going on. And I lost on that Facebook. I don't know if I said that. I lost a little bit of money on that. So I started out the day in the red. Then I go immediately over and I'm looking for something, and I pick Apple because it has a pretty good setup to it. And this one I caught real nice. It got a really nice move here whenever the chart wants to pull up and show you. But we had this really good looking setup in it. A lot of this stuff was breaking earlier range, and we just caught that vert perfectly. Now, the thing about this one is, if you look at a chart, you'll probably have to look at it while my computer decides to load the damn thing. But while this thing was going up, I'm going to pull it up on my other system here so I can actually look at it while I'm explaining it to you, and you look at the spindles up there on the chart, is that it had already built somewhat of a pattern over the first 20 to 30 minutes. So unlike when you're looking at a breakout early in the morning, like on a Facebook or a Netflix or something like that, you got this nice little breakout, but there's not enough data within the day. Here, it was able to establish some data. So that was a nice little trade there, and we caught that. I'm just going to pause this for a second, excuse me, because I have no idea when it's going to load, and I'm just going to sit here and talk while this damn thing spins. Okay, I'm back. I think I might have actually typed the ticker in there. It was just spinning, and I just turned it off, cut the tape. Now I'm back. My apologies for messing up the flow, because now I kind of forgot where I was. I know I was talking about Apple. So anyway, one thing that I want to talk about is with this one, it was a little easier read. There was some data that had compiled throughout the day as far as chart data, and a lot of things were turning around. We hit this one perfect. If you see there, I took a partial on this one, let the other piece ride, and they actually closed the day up pretty strong. So this one is a good one. So this part, I've had one winner, one loser, and I'm kind of bouncing around. Now, a little bit later on here, we're going to have to let this settle in, because what happens is after you've had a long sell-off followed by a big rally, on everyone's mind, most everyone's mind, is this thing going to hold? You know, or are we going to go back to red? There's always that possibility because there's that much volatility in the market. Again, this changes the way that you look at trading and how you view things. So I'm looking around there, and I pick around at a couple of trades with some small thing. Again, when I don't feel 100% confident, I know that some people would criticize me for the fact that, hey, you should only take everything that you love 100%. And I kind of agree with that. I can't blame people for thinking that way. But for me, I have that tendency that's maybe a weakness for me, is I want to trade. You know, I want to make a trade. And sometimes when I see things and I'm like, yeah, I'll take it, but I really gear the size down. That's how I compensate for it. That way, if it turns out to be crappy, then it's like, all right, it's not a tier 1, but I'll give it a go. So you do whatever you want in your own trading. To each his own, right? I'm not going to criticize anyone. But anyway, I tried on Netflix a little bit later, and it didn't come. I tried to get this later day breakout coming out of this range here. Again, it's not a tier 1 setup by any means. It was more of a hunch trade, thinking, hey, this market is going to roll up a little bit. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of charts that look like this. Now, I have to, same way with Facebook and this one, I took losses on these two that I normally wouldn't take. Like, I normally would have probably fought these out and kept it. But, like I said, being in the market climate that we are, I felt at this time it was better for me to err on the side of caution, because, again, we could have this epic rally first thing in the morning and Facebook could have went up $7 or $8 and I would have been screwed. You saw the drain here after I got out over here in this area of Netflix. It actually went from 356 down to 349. So it wasn't like that was some like little small pullback. It's a hell of a fade. Then it came back up a little bit later. So, you know, sometimes they'll work, guys, sometimes they'll work out for you. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll miss stuff. Sometimes you'll have a good decision, bad decision. But you got to live and die by the sword. You got to live and die by your plan and what's got you to where you are if you're successful. And that's how you roll. Again, I can say people will criticize me for the way I do things, but I've been profitable every year since like '05. You know, what am I going to do? If there's an easier way to teach me, but hey, that's how it is, right? Again, enough of the rant. So basically at this point, I'm just floating around. The next part of the lesson that I want to say is there's a reason we work the whole day. Like when I said earlier about the social media marketing, like, oh, I'm just going to bang out a grand and walk away. You never know what the day is going to bring. I mean, sometimes you start out the day real well and you end up real well. Sometimes you start out real bad and you end up the day real bad. Sometimes you start out real good and you end up bad, and sometimes you start out bad and you end up really good. So you never know what's going to happen from morning to afternoon or till the close. It's sometimes, like I said before in the last couple ones, yin and yang. You never know what you're going to get. That's why we sit here and we continue to work and we continue to look at them. On that note, if you look, the trade of the day by far was Tesla. Now, I haven't traded much of this since the whole Musk thing. I'm not going to go into that. It's just been something I'm not wanting to mess with. But this thing got an upgrade today, and it was just on fire all day. So I felt at this point, being up 14 bucks, I'm like, I'm kind of priced out of a long in my mind. So if this market starts to pull later on and we start to see some fades, I want to watch this thing for a short. I started watching this, and we started talking about it as a short at 10 o'clock in the morning. Again, that's Pacific time. It's like 1 o'clock, you know, and didn't get into this thing until like 2 to 3 hours, almost 3 hours later after talking about it. Like, we've been thinking about this for 3 whole hours. And again, I want you to let you know, sometimes when you're talking about making trades, this is what you got to do. You're sitting there waiting patiently. And this, sometimes when you're waiting patiently, it hurts because you want to make a trade, you want to make money, but you got to wait for things to develop. And I wasn't even sure it was going to play out. You know, I said, if it sets up this way, if we have a failed breakout late in the day, I'll short this thing. And it wasn't until this point right here, if you look at this little area, let me see if I can open this up for everyone, up at the top chart. You had this every single time, if you look back in this chart, every time it pulled back and it re-geared, it made a new high. It did that the entire day, all day long. It was a monster. And then this last kind of like a little bit of a blow off top right there was the high of the day. And then here it was this piece is what we were talking about. And I really said, hey, look, if this thing does not go back to high of day, then I'll short it. And I felt it was a great risk to reward opportunity, because at this point I can short it and I can use the stop over high. So that takes my risks to about $1.50 on this trade for the potential at the time, which what we like to look for on reversal trades is VWAP. So I'm going to show you, this is a 5-minute chart down below. I got Lulu up there. Okay. Is VWAP. So up here it was trading at 266, and VWAP was all the way down at 261. So I'm like, hey, that's good risk to reward, right? That's a hell of a trade. And you know, as soon as it started to roll over there, we took the trade with that idea. We could have actually stopped late in the day at 266, or if you wanted to go a little bit higher, right there, because you got that night. You got a level, basically what I'm saying. You know, a lot of people will tell you when you say you want to short a cult stock, they'll tell you screw off, you're going to get murdered. You're not going to get murdered if you use a stop. There's no such thing as a bad trade if you use a stop. Remember that. And this one worked out good. Took a partial at $2, and I think that all in all, I think it was $3.50, $4 gainer. So what am I saying? Right there in the last hour, my whole day was made. I was in the wash machine, bouncing back and forth, and then right there at the last hour, by sitting there, being patient, continuing to look at this stuff, continuing to grind it out, there it was. Day's savior. That turned my day green and made it to a nice little day. Just right there in the last 45 minutes of the day. So the thing is, you never know what you're going to get. Does this make me a superstar hero, almighty authority in this world? No, it doesn't. I'm just sharing with you the day-to-day spectacle of the trader lifestyle. And this is exactly what it is right here. Not the Ferraris, not the models. It's grinding it out like this and living trade by trade, day by day, and you win some, you lose some. And if you continue to follow this, you'll nail the big ones. So like I said, you know, if I got to take small greens, I will, because I know the big green days are coming real soon. So every single day, that's all I look at. I don't think about monthly projections, yearly projections, daily goals. I just say, just try to be green. Just try to finish green. Just keep trying to finish green. Everything else will take it out. Just keep focusing on your trades. Keep focusing on what it is you do. Things will work out for you. Don't worry about it. And they have by doing it that way. So again, you never know what you're going to run into. That's pretty good. I'm going to say that all the way that turned out was all good. So we did well there. And I think when you're talking about you trying to become professional, this is the things you got to know. You know, you just got to keep winging at it. Not winging at it, but you just got to keep pounding away at it. So right now it's difficult to say where we're going to go tomorrow. I'm still going to stay on this, you know, any kind of big ramp up, I'm a short seller. Any kind of flush, I'm a buyer. I may be a little bit delusional about this rally that may never come, because I've seen so many of them, like the Brexit, the post-election ones, Italy, Turkey. It's like the market shrugged off everything, and you're thinking after 4 or 5 days, again, that's why I took the loss on Facebook, was that, hey, I don't know. I mean, this market could just go 500 points one day and, you know, get a stick up its ass, and here we go. I don't know. I mean, I'm still thinking of that in the back of my mind, but every signal still has been weak. It's still showing weakness. I mean, today there was an opportunity for a lot of these stocks to really be like, even though I took the loss on Facebook, when I look back at it, I'm like, you know what? It didn't make a new high. It didn't really go anywhere. So what does that tell you? Like, it had its opportunity, I think, to come off of the bottom. The daily chart's beaten down. So we'll see. Again, I think I'm still leaning a little bit more bearish here. That's my bias. Obviously willing to change that at any time. But what we saw here today with some of this stuff, you know, ripping outside of Tesla and Netflix, the rest of these, they gave a lot up. Amazon, you know, Apple was pretty good. So, I mean, I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. Take it for what it's worth. Do whatever you want to with that high-class info. It just feels to me that we had an opportunity today to really print up some big numbers, and the market never even went green. Well, it went green. It didn't stay green. So we'll have to see if it's able to build on this tomorrow, or it just continues a little bit lower. We're going to find out. So I'm going to leave it at that. I want to thank you very much for watching this video and my middle video editing of this, whatever I did with that Apple chart. It's been a long day. If you guys need help, as always, feel free to visit thelincolnlist.com. I want to thank you for watching this video. You can always send your questions to it. Support@thelincolnlist.com if you have them. Thanks for watching again. I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Take care.